Hello, everyone, and welcome to Radical Thinker, the place where we are always challenging the Western media narratives. Yesterday, the 35th day of the American and Israeli war imposed on the Islamic Republic of Iran, was one of the worst days for the American Air Force since the war in Vietnam, since May 10, 1972, when during the Operation Linebacker 1, they lost 11 aircraft. Yesterday, they lost one F-15 fighter jet, which crashed in southwestern Iran. One pilot seems to have been rescued, although the second one is still missing, according to the Pentagon. Two Black Hawk Down helicopters were involved in the search and rescue operation for the pilots. These helicopters were also struck by the Iranian forces. All the crews seem to have been saved, and they are accounted for. The helicopters managed to fly out of the Iranian airspace into Iraq. Besides this, we saw that another A10 Warthog airplane was shot down by the Iranian air defenses and crashed inside the Kuwaiti territory. So a full day for the American Air Force to see its power being contested by the Iranian armed forces inside the Iranian airspace. We don't know exactly, the story is not completely clarified as of now, if the pilot that was rescued yesterday inside Iran, it's one of the pilots of the F-15 fighter jets, or if it is the pilot of the A-10 Warthog airplane who entered the Iranian airspace in order to provide support for the rescue teams which were looking for the pilots of the F-15 fighter jets. The situation is not yet clear, and also it seems that no one has an idea where the second pilot of the F-15A fighter jet it is. The pilot has gone missing for more probably now than 24 hours. The Americans didn't manage to find him, and neither the Iranians. So an interesting development, and as I was saying, one of the worst days for the American Air Force since the war in Vietnam. It was a really a crazy day. Besides these aerial crashes inside the Iranian airspace, Iran also managed to strike a Kuwaiti power and a desalinization plant, causing damage, according to the Kuwait Ministry of Electricity. Also, Iran managed to strike Mina Al Ahmadi refinery in Kuwait, with multiple fires being reported there. They continued by firing in the Hashban gas facilities in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. These gas facilities have been temporarily suspended. The operations there are stopped until the fire will be extinguished. This will put even more pressure on the energetic infrastructure of the Gulf, and for sure this will not lead to a drop in the price for gas and oil. On contrary, I'm expecting the prices to grow next week, when the oil and the gas market will be opened on Monday. We will see how things are going to evolve, but for sure we are not going to see a process of calming down the markets, although Donald Trump will continuously try to come up with new stories about Iran being ready to capitulate, about Iran wishing for negotiations, a charade meant to stabilize the prices of gas and oil. Besides this, yesterday, Iran has reportedly rejected the 48-hour ceasefire proposed by the United States through intermediaries. Iran has its own calculation, and they don't want to give the Americans and the Israelis another time, like in June 2025, to recover, replenish their stockpiles of ammunition, and give them another time frame for another attack against them. Therefore, Iran seems to be willing to endure the pain, the bombings that they have been receiving for more than 35 days from the Americans and Israelis, and they are going to continue the conflict for as long as it is necessary in order to achieve their goals. And their goals seem to inflict so much damage on the American military infrastructure in the Gulf region, and to destroy as much as possible from the military force and all the capabilities that the Israelis have. for them not to be able to start another war for at least 5 years. This seems to be the primary goal of Iran, although they have talked about receiving compensations from the United States, which I think is not feasible. The Americans are never going to compensate the Iranian state for starting this war of aggression. The IRGC, the Revolutionary Guards, have sealed off a large area in Iran's Kogiluye and Boyer Ahmad province to search for the missing US pilots, along with local security forces. If you had a look on the internet yesterday, there were even police forces in that area shooting with their handguns at the Black Hawk helicopters, trying to make them crash, trying to fight back against the American invaders. Iran, according to U.S. intelligence assessments, it's repairing its missile bunkers. Iranian operatives have been digging out underground missile bunkers and silos struck by the American and Israeli bombs, returning them to active operations hours after being attacked. This is a statement coming from the U.S. intelligence, according to the New York Times, so a very official source. On top of boasting about breaking the record for the highest Dow value, now Donald Trump seems to be quiet. Yesterday was one of the rare days when Donald Trump didn't speak too much, when he didn't boast about sending Iran back to the Stone Age, when he didn't boast about obliterating the Iranian Navy, Iranian air defense, and all the Iranian armed capabilities. On contrary, he was hoping that the American fighter jet pilot will not be captured, and pretty much this, I think, resumes the state of spirit inside the White House after yesterday's casualty rate among American Air Force pilots. In Emirates, the situation is not good either. If the Iranians bombed a lot of strategical and economical places in Kuwait, also they bombed the Al Tawila site, an aluminium plant in the United Arab Emirates. And according to sources, it will take up to 12 months for the aluminium plant to be restored and for the production to be restarted after this attack. So the more this war drags on, the more it continues, the more the Emirati economy will be impacted and their industrial capabilities will be damaged, if not almost completely destroyed. I don't even understand why the leadership in the Emirates is so keen on supporting the Americans and on dragging themselves into this abyss by supporting the Americans and the Israelis against Iran. Okay, they have that dispute about those islands in the Persian Gulf, but it's not healthy for them, and it's almost suicidal to get involved directly or indirectly into this conflict against Iran. Yesterday, or I think not yesterday, 2 days ago, Iran bombed and crashed one Chinese drone, which, according to several sources, is part of the arsenal of the Saudi army. A Chinese drone purchased, of course, from China by the Saudis and used to fly inside Iran to attack probably military targets. This gives us the confirmation that Saudi Arabia, and probably not only Saudi Arabia, it's directly involved in this war, supporting the American and the Israeli invasion, or if not invasion, at least the attack, the aerial attacks against Iran. Turkey has announced a second Turkish ship has crossed the Strait of Hormuz. It was the same for France. One French ship crossed yesterday also through the Strait of Hormuz, indicating the fact that these countries are having direct negotiations with Iran, which is very wise. Instead of supporting a military operation to block the strait, it's probably better for them and a very healthy decision to discuss directly with Iran, pay the taxes needed, and get their ships to cross the Strait of Hormuz without having more violence and without supporting the American aggression against the Islamic Republic. So looking forward to see what will help will happen with the pilots, with the F-15 pilots. If they are going to be captured. As I said, we don't know for sure if there are two pilots of the F-15 fighter jet still inside Iran, or if it is just one. But for sure, the situation will develop, and I'm sure that now the Americans are thinking twice about flying their fighter jets inside Iran. For a while, probably they're going to shoot missiles from outside the Iranian airspace, probably from the airspace of the Persian Gulf, trying to target relevant military facilities, and probably also civilian places, as we saw inside Iran. Time will tell how things are going to develop, but we are not reaching a point where the hostilities are decreasing. On contrary, from one day to another, the military operations from both sides seem to escalate, seem to increase in tension and in capabilities. Still, I'm thinking, I have the opinion that the Americans are going to be crazy enough and try to put boots on the ground. They will try probably to conquer some of the islands in the Persian Gulf, some of the Persian islands, or probably they will also try to get boots on the ground in Charbahar, in that big port inside the mainland Iran, if not even to parachute special forces in central Iran to look for the stock of uranium, around 460 kilograms of uranium, which the Americans want to get by force, to assure themselves that the Iranians are not going to keep or to use to enrich this uranium to 90%, which would make it eligible for being put on ballistic missiles and used as a nuclear weapon. Therefore, looking forward to what will happen this weekend, and probably I will have another update regarding the American and Israeli war on the Islamic Republic tomorrow. I'm wishing you a great day and looking forward for your comments in the comment section, and for your suggestions about what topics and about what should I focus on analyzing here at Radical Thinker. See you tomorrow.